at episode 2, season 2 of the Ari and Sid show. I'm Ari.
And I'm Sid. We are still forever friends, and this is some more shit that we care about.
Yet again. No, I'm just kidding. We talk about meaningful shit on this show. Sometimes it's not so important shit because we've been friends for like, I don't even know
Ever.
now. And so we came together to make this show to spread some awareness about some of the shit we care about and then learn from one another along the way.
Yes, sir. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Keep up with us on Instagram. Keep up with us on Twitter. All that good stuff. Let us know if you are enjoying the content. Let us know if you have some topics, some shit that you care about and you want us to care about it or you want to hear us talk about it. Just, send us a note. Let us hear from you. We appreciate you all just, rocking with us for this long and peeping into season 2. Yeah. And welcome if you're new.
Welcome. Now we're about to get into some shit.
Yeah.
Sorry for the dramatics, but not sorry.
Happy Black History Month again.
Yes. It's all February, really 365 days out of the year, but we're calling it out. Maybe we'll just do it as part of our intro anyways. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And happy Valentine's Day weekend and Black Love Day weekend.
Yes. Black love is in the air. It's my favorite kind of love.
Me too. Makes me all warm and fuzzy inside.
I know, right? Ain't nothing like seeing black love either. It'll make me tear up. Okay. Anyways, continuing with our February theme of Black women appreciation, today's episode is about the power of Black women.
Amen. Ooh. Can we just pause there because I think about like the power of Black women and then I think about Black women in general and then like my brain is flooded with all these like powerful images of just some badass bosses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, ooh. And so, of course, and the cool thing about, this month, we're also going to be able to talk about our experiences of growing up as Black women where we grew up in Arizona, which, isn't a place where you see lots of Black people.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I still remember growing up and having certain Black women that I would look up to. And over time, as my education grew and as I learned more about just, the pioneers and the women who came before us, the list of like Black women I admire grew. But I wanted to talk to you today, just about who are some of the Black women we admire, or well, at least start there about like who are some Black women we admire, or what are some experiences or memories we have of like, witnessing Black women be powerful, or I guess.
Yeah. I have to be honest though, and it's only because I, as a kid, watched Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, and I can't say that I have any strong experiences when I was younger seeing them. Like, I mean, because, back then we didn't have the internet, so like it was crazy to think about.
Oh my God, we just sounded so old.
I know. It's crazy. We used to fucking hunt for the AOL CDs to try and get dial-up, and we wouldn't even surf on the internet. We would just try and go on AIM, which is crazy. So anybody that I saw, right, besides, my family members, was on TV, and, that includes like That's So Raven, which, Smart Guy, the Black Girl and As Told by Ginger.
Right,
it was very minuscule, but same as you, as I've gotten older, of course, my appreciation for Black women and being a Black woman, well, I said that backwards, has just continued to grow, and I feel like I was missing out. I don't know. not I feel like I know I was missing out as a kid because I know there's amazing women, specifically Black women in the 90s who were pioneers, and I just wasn't like, I just didn't know or wasn't told about them, or my dad didn't really, he watched which I guess does Judge Judy count? She
She's
Black?
not.
I don't know what she is.
I don't know.
But
I have no idea.
Judge Mathis, my dad watched all those
Joe
fucking
Mathis,
shows.
yeah. But
So,
I agree with you though, like there that like especially when we were younger, there weren't like a lot of prominent, specifically when you're looking at like kids shows and cartoons, there weren't like a lot of people you could like see yourself in. And like honestly, like if I'm thinking even maybe even for your experience, right, with having like two different cultural backgrounds, like you I just don't think like especially back then that like if there were like characters who were of more than one cultural background and who like were considered mixed, they didn't play on that. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
they were either one or the other. So like I feel like I don't think it's anything you should be ashamed. It's not like it's your fault. Like it wasn't like you weren't trying to find, like there literally was just not anyone who looked like you.
Yeah.
Or who you could really identify yourself with.
I mean, on the Cosby Show, even though we don't watch that show anymore, as we all know, but one of the little girls on there, I can't remember her name, but she was like the youngest. She grew up to be.
It was the girl that Raven played.
Was that her? I feel like it was somebody else, but I'm not sure. But even the sister on the Cosby Show, the one of the older, like eccentric sister. She was, she wasn't, I don't know if she's mixed, but she looks like she was more fair skinned than the rest of them. And I think it was, in the 90s, it was definitely one of those things. I watched the entire, series of Girlfriends, and also like after I finished, went and like watched a bunch of not documentary, but like little episodes about them talking about what it was like making Girlfriends at that point in time. And it was just like, I didn't really watch that show when I was a kid, but hearing them say how like they weren't even recognized, like when they go out into the clubs, like people didn't even know they were celebrities, and their dressing room was a fucking closet with like the old school janitor closet kind of thing. And I don't know, I know that representation on TV was already in itself hard to come by, like positive stuff, but it was definitely, I always leaned more towards shows that showcased Black culture and things. So I definitely have always appreciated my Black culture. That my dad always listened to R&B music and the oldies, and so I more so identified Black women in music
because that's where you saw them,
right? So like we got of course, which isn't my generation, but Anita Baker. When I was old enough to recognize their names then, right? I didn't know who they were back then, but Donna Summer. Fucking when I started picking out my own music, I was obsessed with Monica. Oh my gosh, Monica. And then what's so funny? What's even more so, I was obsessed with her, but back then, because we couldn't Google everything, I thought it was Monica Lewinsky that was singing the songs, which is very I share that in confidence and also embarrassment, because it was something that I used to think like, oh yeah, that's Monica Lewinsky, not having any idea of who the fuck Monica Lewinsky was. That was just the only Monica I knew.
Yeah, that's so funny. I think also like that just goes to show you like the gaps in like being able to see Black women in your everyday life, right? Like you talked about like you kind of jumped right to like seeing them in music and things like that, but like I don't know. So when I was thinking about this, like the first women that popped into my head, right, were like the first one I could think of was Mary McLeod Bethune. But you would think like the reason why I admired her as a kid was because the first school that I went to that I can remember going to was Mary McLeod Bethune Elementary in
Ah,
Phoenix, right? And so that stood out to me because like one, like in my head, all schools were named by dudes. I always heard schools named by men, right? And like so the
yeah.
fact that I was going to a school that was named after a black woman was really cool to me even at a young age. Didn't really know who she was, but I knew she, had a school at least,
Right.
had her name on the school building. But then also, yeah, my list included like I was really heavily influenced, like inspired by like girl groups. Because in my head, like if you're singing with your girl groups, those are your friends, and like y'all like are like really good friends, and like
Yeah.
like they're having fun, and like they're like making music together and making movies together or money together and traveling, and like I always like looked up to that, like, oh, that's so cool. Like, of course, not knowing that like some people didn't even like each other. You got Destiny
Right.
Child breaking up, and when groups used to break up, my heart would break. Listen, when that whole Destiny's Child thing happened, I was so, first of all, my simple slow self, again, internet's not like, widely popular. So like every time these videos would come on, I'd be like, wait, but that's not who was in that video. Like the Say My Name video really threw me off. I thought I was not making any sense in my brain. I thought I was
Oh
making
my
this shit
gosh,
up.
that's funny.
Like things like that, and like other girl groups, TLC, SWV, Brownstone, I just love girl groups. And then the other person, like this is what I'm thinking, like specifically at a young age, these are who I was like admiring. The other person was my great grandmother, and it was honestly because she was like the oldest person I knew, and she was badass. Like she was just
Yeah.
badass. My great grandmother was born in 19 oh I don't remember what year she was born, 1908, something like that. Whatever year she was born, her birth certificate said like Negro, like you know what I'm saying, like
Mm.
it was just like this little
Mm-hmm.
card. And like my dad was very close with her, so we were all very close with her, and I got to spend time with myself by myself with her a lot, and like just really learning about her journey and like how much she lived through. Like I really admired that. And like
Yeah.
she was definitely like someone who I still feel like is a very powerful woman, and I'm happy to carry on her middle name for the rest of my life. And that's really cool that I like am connected to her in that way, and that might be another reason why like I admire her, and have been admiring her from a young age. But those are definitely people who stand out to me. And then I think as I like moved on and like got further into like social work and like social justice work and things like that, I became like super obsessed with like Shirley Chisholm and Barbara Lee. And like, when I met Barbara Lee, I'm such a weirdo. I'm such a weirdo because it shouldn't be that deep. But one year when we were at Howard, we were doing like social work day on the Hill, and Barbara Lee came to speak like during it or whatever. And so like we're all like
Yeah.
sitting in the room, and she comes in and she's speaking, and she gets down off the stage and she's like going, back to her office or whatever. And then like I tap Tiara, and Tiara knows that like I'm obsessed with her at this point because of like, she has like policy work for like comprehensive sex ed. Like she's she's super super loud about like reproductive justice and things like that, which makes sense because of her own birth story. But I remember tapping to her like, I really want a picture with her. Like I want to meet her. Like I have to tell her, like like most of my papers in grad school, a lot of them were like specifically my policy papers were heavily influenced by her policy work. So I was
Oh
like
wow. Yeah.
kind of obsessed with her. And so Tiara was like, we'll go. And I was like, no, Tiara, like, this is Barbara Lee, Tiara. She was like, Sydney, what are you talking? I'm like, this is Barbara Lee, okay? You can't just walk up to this woman. Like in my head, she's like Beyonce. And so Tiara was like, if you don't bring your simple, you know what I'm saying? Like, so Tiara like brought me over, and like we stopped her, and she's like, so Tiara started the conversation first, and then, like I slid in. She's like, yeah, this is my friend. Like she really, and so like I got to talk to her and like tell her that like I've been writing papers based on her work. And I was like so happy. And then I got a picture with her, and she,
That's dope though.
damn near cried. But
That's cry worthy.
yeah. I feel like that's very cry worthy. And then of course there's Angela Davis, who she's doing a it's going to be virtual, but she's doing a speech for at ASU.
Yeah. My
next week.
Yeah, our sister venue is hosting it.
Nice. Very cool.
So
yeah, I'm gonna try to
into that.
Yeah, same. I know that they're gonna be streaming it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Cool. Bet. Yeah, so that, I mean that's really where I guess when I think about like powerful black women and women that I admire specifically to me, like I mean, of course, like outside of like my mom and like my grandmothers, like that's that's like a no-brainer. Because they
Right.
all
Yeah.
had their own different stories and experiences that they've, lived through, and we appreciate that. But yeah, that Barbara Lee thing, I was just like, and then of course, like Shirley Chisholm, being the first black woman to like successfully be the Democratic ticket on the Democratic ticket for a presidential election. That shit blew my mind. So
Yeah.
I fuck with her heavy, 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 heavy. Um, yeah, and that, I think, I don't know. I think I've always been like super into politics because of my dad.
Mm,
But
yeah.
he's always pointing me to like powerful women. Like we've never like he himself really loves like black women politicians, or like just powerful black women. So thank you, Dad.
Yeah, that's super dope. I definitely don't have any stories as cool as that. Um, I'm like, damn, I should have went to social work. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but I would also say that as I've gotten older, have grown a more appreciation for like Black writers. I think that there are some that I'm just learning about, right? But then of course you have Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, which I've never finished any of their work, so that's one thing that I'm like trying, because you learn about them in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Um, and then in one of my grad classes right now, we read about Langston Hughes and like reading more of his work. Even like young Black authors. I've said this before in like a previous episode about how I admire writing. For me, I have to be like in the mood, not even inspired, but like in this like different vibration, I guess I would say. And so when I hear of like debuting authors like finishing a book, like that's some powerful ass shit, because like there was a point in time where Black people weren't taught to even read or write, or if you could, then you would be like, looked at a certain way. And
Yeah.
um, so I think that's like super dope. And I don't know a ton yet, right? I'm learning. I've never like I read in high school and then I only read in college when I needed to read. So now I'm at this point in my life where I want to read and I'm seeking out people. Um, you have Nikki Riley. Yeah, Nikki Riley, who wrote oh my gosh, Such a Fun Age. Um, the one book I read, which I heard mixed reviews about. I don't know if you ever finished it, but Black Girls Must Die Exhausted.
I did
Um,
not finish it.
it resonated with me so much because it was a girl who she was mixed and her grandma was white. So her grandma was living in a home. And so I identified with it so much because I had that experience. My grandpa was white. And so like whenever I be with him, people would be like, "That's your grandpa?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
Like I didn't know it was weird, right? Until I got to whatever age where people were like, "Wait, I thought you were Black." And I'm like, "I am Black, but I also am white." But she tells the story of like how her and her grandmother bond, and then also her experiences. Although she's white, I mean, like myself, we looked Black, so she gets treated certain ways. And she has an experience with a police officer and like experiences with white men in like the dating world. And um I don't know, I like seeing myself in stories in a way that's not like, oh, it's just another mixed girl. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
that's what the world wants to show Black people as, right? Mixed and fair skin and whatever. But I'm like, that shit is not. I don't take my fair skin and my hair as like an ode of like a badge of honor. Like that shit is not.
Yeah.
I
And
want
it's
my
not the
kids to
center of
be
and it's not the center of your existence, right? Like
right.
your whole tragedy, or like like the tragic, quote unquote, tragedy of your life isn't being a mixed Black girl. Like, you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
I
Like
know.
that's
I
not like
hate
what
that
you wake up
narrative
every
too.
day and like, oh, I have to struggle. Like you go through normal stuff, as
Right.
a person who has two different racial identities, and that's the
Yeah.
added thing. It's not that like, oh, yeah, it's not the center of your mixedness isn't the center of your reality.
Which is
And I'm
crazy.
sure that's tough to like find stuff that like resonates with that, or like it was tougher then. I feel like nowadays it's
Yeah, it's common. And it's funny because I did not, and this isn't because my mom and dad like taught us like colorblind, but like I remember as a kid, like I did not that I didn't know I was black, like I knew my dad was black and I knew my mom was white, but like I didn't know it was taboo when I was a kid. I didn't
Mhm.
know like, you know, that I would be potentially called. I didn't know people were called the N-word, right? Like my dad didn't like say that word, not even the slang version.
Got
He didn't
you.
say either. So like
Mhm.
when I got called it one day, I'm like, I just inherently knew I should be offended, and I like pushed the kid or whatever, and it was just like a weird experience. But like I didn't when as a kid growing up, I didn't identify as like, oh, I know my mom's white. I know I didn't have like that wasn't like my thing unless people ask like, oh, what are you? Everybody who's mixed has that question as like, hey, your name is what? And what are you? But anyways, back to the topic. I of course like I have aunts and uncles, and I had a grandma who passed away, and I really wasn't close to her. But of course, she and herself like has a legacy of like, she raised 6 children in the South where, they were poor, and not that that's a powerful narrative for a black woman, but I just like I have always my mom worked really hard. She was a waitress. And so like when I know like how hard it is to be a mother and raising kids and being like a recipient of a parent who's struggling to raise their kids and their family, I think is just amazing. Like it's not necessarily I have said this before, but it's not like a you don't have to meet that standard to be a powerful woman or even like a powerful black woman. But like when you can do that, I think it's amazing. And so I always have strived towards women who like just fucking ride hard for their family and make that shit work. And I don't think it doesn't have to be the case, right? Like I hate the story of like, oh, we have to reward black women for because they made it through their struggle, because that's never ever the case for me. But I just love seeing strong women who like prevail, and regardless of their circumstances, good or bad. I feel like I've always been drawn to those type of stories in my life. So I can't identify anybody specifically because it's always been like real life experiences. I don't remember people's names, and I don't remember um although I do remember a few people, but I'm not going to shout them out. No shade or anything. I'm going to keep it silent.
You mentioned something earlier, then I remembered that like that's something else that we never really spent a lot of energy on. So I wanted to go back. And it's perfect because we were talking about powerful black women. And I just wanted to give you your flowers and give you your shout out because you fucking, for people that don't know, already started grad school. Um, Yay! So fucking excited. But you started grad school during a pandemic, you know what I'm saying? So like
True.
that's not easy. And like, but you made that decision to, pursue higher education and just uplift and empower yourself. And I'm so excited and so, 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 so proud of you.
Thanks.
So I wrote that down to say earlier, but I forgot it and I wasn't looking down at my sticky note. But wanted to give my bestie her flowers because I am so, 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 so proud of you for doing that. And I'm
Don't make
super
me cry on
excited.
this.
I'm just super excited to like watch you and like I love hearing and it might just be, like my inner teacher. Most swears like I'm a teacher on the inside, but it might be my inner teacher like loving to hear about how your classes are going and how like homework is going and like just hearing that you have homework.
I know.
But I
Every
am
day.
every day. But I am extremely, extremely proud of you. Yeah. So shout out
Thanks,
to
we
you
out
for
here.
that. Because again, it's not easy. Um, so while we're talking about, powerful black women, I want to also, and I think this is something that we've both talked about before, is like the narrative of like the strong black woman. And so I want to talk a little bit more about like, do you think that's where our power lies? Is that because we're that quote unquote strong? So like, is our power our strength? or is it something else? If that makes sense.
Um, I guess I feel like strength is residual. You know, like Black women are, which could be taken, I'm not saying this to be offensive, but like Black women are kind of like not chameleon. You know what I mean? They're versatile. They can
Yeah.
do, they adjust to their environment and make it better or make it suitable for themselves, you know, like, or they leave, you know, whichever the case, whichever is best. But I feel like being versatile and being able to like work with like at sometimes like so little, resourceful, you know, no, those are all like, I guess in a sense that is strength. And I think that power is such a dynamic word, um as far as like Black women haven't been given much power, right? Like historically and even now. When a Black woman is in power, it's like, oh my gosh, she's won, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so to say that, like, because there's so little out in the world, not so little, because there are several Black women who are in power and doing dope shit, but like being a Black woman is really just, that's it. Like you have power just by being a Black woman. You know what I mean? Because oftentimes you have to do, be strong. You have to be resourceful. You have to maneuver tough situations and be a problem solver without quote unquote being a problem like society thinks you are. You know what I mean? Like,
Come
I,
on.
I think it's just amazing. Like, it's not any one thing. I think Black women can decide my power is blank and it's going to be right every time.
I fucking love that. I love that. Ooh. I agree with you. I'm sorry, because you're over here preaching and now I'm
I'm in this mode right now.
okay. Okay. But I totally agree. Like, I think our power is in our wholeness. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we're all those things, but at the same time, we're soft. We're soft as shit. And we can make you
Mm-hmm.
feel very soft and relaxed. And like nothing in the world matters because you're in our arms. You know what I'm saying? Like we're passionate and like that's the key. Like you said, like we're gonna if it doesn't reflect us, okay, bet. We're gonna go over here and make it ourselves. Boom. Because the passion is still there. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. I'm not riding this wave to be like everyone else. I'm riding this wave because it needs to happen. And so if you're not going to do it and you don't want to do it together, then that's fine. I'm going to go over here and do it with some other people that want to do it. It's the
Right.
passion that's going to keep that keeps us going. And I think also our power lies in like our groundedness and just being connected to ourselves like fully as women and like really understanding like who we are as women to the greater community. Just like even like on like like you know what I'm saying? Like I mean, without women, you know what I'm saying? Like there really is, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like our bodies and it, without people who are able to birth babies and things like that, societies don't grow. You know, so that's power in itself. But I think it reminds me. I read that book Pussy Prayers by Black Girl Bliss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in the book they talk a lot about how like people and whether it be other women or men or whoever are afraid of the power and femininity of like really being connected to like your womb and like your inner your interconnectedness, like knowing your power and your body and like your purpose and things like that. And like people make it seem like we shouldn't be and they down that, and that's how they try to limit our power. It's like, tell us like, why do you need to know? And like, like why do you need to be in control of your reproductive health? Or like, or get mad when women want to express themselves a certain way,
Yeah.
things like that. And it's like, you don't want us to be able to do it how we want because you want to be able to have some control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, so I don't know, I love that book. I think that it is very true that people are, I don't know, nervous, scared, insecure when they're around a woman who is fully connected into herself and understands like who she is and her power and really doesn't let anyone, take that away from her. and I don't think it's like a matter of being like completely like feminine, and I don't think that it's a matter of not being masculine. I think every woman, every person can have a, their own kind of like mixture of both that represents them.
Yeah,
So
it's
I don't,
duality.
yeah, like I sometimes I struggle with thinking like, okay, like our power lies in our femininity, because like, some of the power that we have comes from masculine energy to me. But I definitely think it's a piece of the puzzle, a huge
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle, to just be connected to your body, like bottom line, period. And like literally being connected to your period, like things like that, like, like knowing about like your own cycle and like taking charge of things like that, I think is even just another way of us being able to like tap into our full power and our full potential.
I also want to say that like your power is like what you make it, right?
Mm.
If you tell yourself you're broken, then your power will constantly be trying to put yourself back together, right? If
Yeah.
you tell yourself that you're struggling, then your power will be constant, like waking up every day. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything grand either. I think we see on TV and in movies these Black women who are doing these grandiose things, which is great. But like literally waking up and like not and choosing not to give up, like
Mm-hmm.
that in itself is something that somebody else couldn't do, which you like that could be your power for that day. Like you have a different
For
power
that day,
every fucking day. You
every
know what I mean?
day.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's really amazing that you really have a choice in our world, at least in
Yeah.
America, which I know we don't get much here. Like
Mm.
I can go all day long about how I make a certain amount of money every year and I fucking owe the IRS, and it's damn sure not six figures, let me tell you. I'm like that. Ugh. Okay. Anyways, so it's like you. It's amazing, and I just think that if more women, specifically on the internet, because I feel like that's a large focus of a lot of topics that we talk about, is like if more women just understood that like the power within you has it's not going to reflect or detract from anybody else. Like that is
Mm-hmm.
you. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how many people it took to raise you, who you grew up with, whatever. You can choose to wake up one day and decide what your power is. And what another woman chooses hers is, like it doesn't change yours and it doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
change yours. And like the more people who realize that, I feel like it would be an unstoppable force to get a lot of shit done in this not even get shit done, just make a better place. Because I think the more people who like step into that, and I'm one of those, like I struggle with like, oh, what am I gonna do today? I'm in grad school and we're in a pandemic and I work full time. I live on my computer and all these fucking things. Um, but if I just chose one, right, and like lived it to the fullest that day, my world would be a better place, right? Instead of chaotic. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is like a better place, not like fucking world peace, because
Right.
Black women are not going to be in charge of world peace, motherfuckers. Let's just put that out
Okay,
there.
let's just tell you that right motherfucking now. When y'all start divvying out the roles and shit like that, do not put us there on that line. That's
Thank you
not
very
our
much.
business. Thank you. All right. What are if you could think, what are some of like your top favorite things about being a Black woman? Like when you're like sitting there, like when you just think like, damn, I'm a Black woman. This is lit. Why? Because it is lit.
I know it is lit.
That's undeniable.
Honestly, and it's not really about myself. I think my favorite thing about being a Black woman is like seeing other Black women win
Yeah.
in whatever they're doing. Like I feel like, damn, my friends, my family, whoever it is, my coworkers. I mean, I have very few. But when I see them win, it's just like, damn, I'm a part of this. I don't even have to be necessarily a part of whatever they're doing, but it's just like it's amazing to be a part of someone when I'm not even like, I don't even have to be related to them, because I just feel like we're connected, because in a sense, specifically, and we'll get more into this in Arizona, but like being in Arizona as a Black woman is like, when I see one, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're here, we're connected. I know, I see you, girl. You know what I mean? Like,
you see me, I see you.
And it's beautiful. So I love the connection without having to even really be like, and there are some people, don't get me wrong, I'm not connected to everybody, but when I'm around the women that I love and I see that are doing great things and are like, you know, whatever, I love how I'm connected to them just by like giving them my energy and them sharing with me, people sharing their gifts with me. And and I also, I mean, there's so many things I love personally, my style, I love the way I talk. I used to hate the way I talk because I didn't like how my voice sounded.
Same.
The podcast, man. That's what this podcast made me get over that. And I like just the wisdom that I don't know, I think, which is a collection of things, but beyond just being Black, right? That's just me being human, part of it. But yeah, I don't know. I can go on and on. There's nothing about me. There's nothing about being a Black woman that I would change.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love being Black. Like I love being a Black woman. And there's so many things that you could really like, again, like it's everything, like let me list out everything. But I think what jumps out specifically for me is like I can't stop talking about this, y'all. And so y'all either gonna get mad at me or get on the bus. But like Black sisterhood is like unmatched. Yeah. Like being around your Black girlfriends is like, it's always gonna be something. Whether, if we're like, riding for somebody, whether it's like, all right, we gotta go do this, you know what I'm saying? Or whether it's like, we're planning a trip. Like there's just so much fun. And like I think specifically in Black sisterhood, laughing with your friends. Yeah. I love laughing with Black women. If y'all don't know Ari, first of all, Ari can hardly tell a story without, if it's a really funny story, she can't get through it without laughing. So we don't sit here for 5 minutes to watch her laugh and be like, okay, hold on. Okay, hold on.
Oh, man. Story, I might have gotten better at that.
I love it. Like I expect it, right? And like, I had a I don't know if this is like common. Again, also like I only know my experiences, right? And so like for me, most of my friends at this point in my life are Black women. And so like I know that like if it's like really funny and we're all together, like someone's gonna be falling over somebody. And I remember one of my friends in college would always talk about how like I wouldn't stand up straight. Like when I was laughing, like I had to hold on to something because it would just be so funny. And it's just like little things like that. Like just Black sisterhood is unmatched. Laughing, the diversity in Black girls, like being able to see Black girls just be who they are and express themselves, but still you have commonalities, you have those common things. Mm-hmm. Like you can still find each other from around across the room and be like, I see you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I love it. I just love all of it. There really ain't no, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be nobody else. I promise.
I just want to be rich. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think that it's such an amazing topic and it can really go on and on because I think that, okay, wait, sorry, off that train. If you could go back in time and meet one Black woman, who would it be?
Damn, that's hard. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. That is so hard.
Sorry, so like I just thought of it.
Someone who's passed away or is still living?
Or I mean they could still be alive, but like in theory, like you would go back far enough to where you can.
That is so hard.
Well, maybe we'll save that for another day.
I can't. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, because if I say one person and think about somebody later, I'm gonna be so mad. So
I'm gonna be like, no, scrap right now.
Scrap the entire episode because I can't think. So I don't know, but that's hard. But I mean, like, people that first come to my head, like, oh my God, I don't even know. Cause it's like, okay, like of course I'd like jump at the opportunity to sit in front of Shirley Chisholm and just ask her, like, all right, what's tea? Like, where do we go from here? Like, what do we do?
Mm,
Um, but then I think there's so many other people that I could do that with, right? Like, like I mentioned Black women that I admired, but I didn't even really mention any other like reproductive justice giants. And so like,
yeah.
that's really where my brain is right now. And so like thinking about like the granny midwives or like, the first doulas and the granny and midwives who were birthing babies before it became a profession, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I would love to, talk to them about their experiences and, things like that. What about you? Did you ask that question because you have one in your head that you would?
I mean, kinda. I mean, I've already said this though, so I feel like I'm a broken record. I am obsessed with getting to know more about Toni Morrison, and what better way to do that by talking to her. Right. But if I could go back farther, honestly, and this is not because I have any sort of agenda attached, but like I would want to go back and meet like a woman who was enslaved and got free. Any woman. I don't know. I can't name any, right? There's so many who are unnamed that we can't recognize. But like, I would just, I don't know. I think it would be such a interesting conversation. Like, not even about like how you made it through, but like, what is the experience, which we know, right? Because we've been told what it's like to be an enslaved Black woman, but like hearing it from somebody and then being able to like tell that story. So maybe there is an agenda, but I think it would be just something that would be like, I'm especially because I'm in this class right now where it's humor writing, which this has nothing to do with being funny. This particular topic right now, but like writing stories about people like and like using their stories to embed it, and not necessarily in a way to like exploit, but like I don't know. So I would want to tell somebody's story who made it out, or maybe they didn't make it out. What's their story? What's the unsung hero? Maybe the person who took the set slaves free and took the the blame and got killed. Like I don't know, those kind of things. I'm getting sentimental, but
that's deep as fuck. Powerful. I love that. Yeah, that's super powerful. And that's so important, right? Like I went straight to think about people who are already known. And yeah, like what about the people who never got to, who we don't know their names? Like there's so many people that we don't know their names and their stories, but they lived and they have experiences that have very much so impacted our lives today. Yeah. And so it would definitely be dope to be able to talk to them. I love that. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that question.
No, of course. I'm random, so.
So we're always going to tell y'all to support some shit and like, try to make the world a better place. So because we're talking about the power of Black women, we also want to bring up the fact that like, we know that Black women are like very highly educated these days, and we're taking over these powerful positions and rooms and things. Shout out to Kamala Harris and Howard University, VP status and all that. We also want to remind you that you yourself can definitely empower and support Black women. And a very easy way to do that is to open that damn purse, because as much as we are highly, highly, highly educated, we are highly, highly, highly in motherfucking debt too. We're in debt and raising, you know what I'm saying? Like we're in debt and raising kids, and we're in debt and going to school, and, we're in debt and giving back to the community, and so if you want to uplift Black women and, Black people and just the society as a whole, because when you uplift Black women, you literally lift up everybody else too. Reach in your purse and support a Black woman in any way you can. And there are some organizations and things that we did want to share that can help you and support you in supporting Black women. Buy from a Black Woman is a really great organization that, encourages you to buy for a Black woman and gives you opportunities to support Black women in their business ventures and such. Raise Your Worth, of course, by our friend Tiara Shelton out of Dallas, Texas, is a Black women empowerment movement and organization that is growing to empower Black women and Black girls. So you can check them out, donate, buy some merch. Well Read Black Girl is it national?
Yeah.
National book club.
Essentially, it's an org.
Nice. Yeah. I really like. That's one that Ariana just put me on. So I'm not very familiar with them, but I definitely want to be super familiar with them. Do you want to talk about R29 Unbothered?
So I'll go back real quick. Well Read Black Girl is basically this woman created a book club because book clubs are predominantly ran by white women, and like Black women aren't seen as like being well read, so she created this book club, and so there's different chapters around the country, and I may have butchered that, but that's pretty much the gist. R29 Unbothered is a subset from Refinery 29. Basically, they created a community and they cater their content and empowerment towards Black women specifically. They do have one for Latinos, and they have one, I feel like, for something else, but they post quotes and they share good news and, lots of things. So I follow them, and yeah.
That's dope. And then Black Girl Tribe is another, it's a nonprofit organization. I'm fairly new with them, but right now how I found them is that they are doing a periodic table of Black girlhood during Black History Month, and they're like really cute, their posts. So that's how I found them. And these are all on Instagram, and of course they'll be in the episode notes. And if you follow us on Instagram, we'll for sure tag them so you have some easy access to their platforms.
Yeah. And so with that being said, we will leave you with a quote, and it says, Black women can do anything. We've proven that time and time and time and time. I'm just kidding. I'm adding that, but time and time again. And that is by, I can't read that.
Is that Tarana Burke?
Tarana Burke. Sorry, it was too small, y'all. But yeah, so I'll read that one more time because I butchered it. Black women can do anything. We've proven that time and time and time again. And that's Tarana Burke. So we will leave you with that. Sit on it, let it marinate, and then go and support a Black woman.
Straight up. Which means come back next week for our next episode of the
Exactly.
Show. All right, y'all. We're going to let you go. But as always, we're so glad that you all, tuned in with us. Be safe. Celebrate Black women, and we'll see you next time.